The Okavango River gives birth to a genuine Garden of Eden in the heart of Africa. Its waters drench the Kalahari Desert sand, thus bringing life, feeding the papyrus, in addition to quenching the thirst of the antelopes, lions, elephants, and egrets. Over centuries, its shorelines have lured a wide range of cattle raiser and fisherman tribes. Bushmen, Hambushuku, Bai, Kwe, and more recently, scores of passionate scientists, nature guides, and NGO delegates. Lloyd Wilmot is Botswana's most prominent bush pilot. From the sky above, the river's 1,700-kilometer stretch appears tiny to his eyes.
All this water of the Okavango comes from Angola, and it flows down through Namibia into Botswana. And the first part is the panhandle, and it flows south and then opens up into the delta. And from one side of the panhandle to the other, you have approximately 20 kilometers of water under the papyrus, with one river flowing through the middle of it.
Lloyd Wilmot's parents arrived in this region 60 years ago. It is then, as wandering grocers, that they settled in the delta after traversing Botswana in an ox cart. Today, it is as a nature guide that he spends hundreds of hours airborne each year. Assigned on occasion to keep a watchful eye over the poaching areas, he monitors all of the 15,000 square kilometer basin of Okavango.
This is the main Okavango River. It's where it's strong and wide before it breaks up into smaller channels. Its water represents life, and if it wasn't for the water of the swamps, there'd be no game, there'd be no livelihood. The more water I see, the more I enjoy it.
As soon as it completes its descent from the Angolan mountains, the Okavango spills over the dreadfully flat expanses of land. As the river no longer benefits from any altitude difference, it fails to gain speed and is then unable to further burrow its riverbed by eroding the ground. In the Kalahari Desert, it spreads out into twisting and turning small waterways as it forms a basin. This is a unique global phenomenon, an extraordinary occurrence resulting from an extremely permeable soil and an underground geological cavity into which the water collects. Vince Shax and his assistant Richard are biologists whose work of closely monitoring the river's biodiversity is assigned by private firms while mandated by the government. The missions taking place within this lagoon maze require proper safety measures in order to deal with the delta's most aggressive animal, the hippopotamus. This herbivore's teeth have the ability to pierce through the hull of boats navigating through their territory.
Look at this one coming towards us, look here. See, he's coming towards us.
Oh, baby hippo, give me a break.
Baby, where's the mommy?
Where's the mom?
At this time of year, Vince tracks down and plots the egg-laying sites of female crocodiles. Little by little, this process allows the tracking of the delta's crocodile population restocking. It took 30 years for the decimation of close to 50,000 crocodiles to occur, as their hide was a hot commodity in the leather trade markets.
The panhandle is better for nesting because the habitat in the panhandle is actually more suitable for the crocodiles than it is in the delta. The water here is permanent water, it's here all year round, and we also have huge amounts of what we call lataka, which is reeds, Phragmites reeds, and those are generally associated with land. So we find that a high concentration of that type of habitat along the panhandle than we do in the delta. The best way to do it is to stop, but I don't want to walk up her slide because she might even be down there. That's definitely a nest. Yeah, let's just stop here.
The ultimate goal is to tally the active reproduction sites without unearthing or damaging the eggs.
Big hippo. Personally, I'm more frightened of hippos than crocodiles. They're just very aggressive and their tendency is to fight rather than flight. So we don't mess around with the hippos. This is the back part of the nest. So we're going to go in here and see if it is a nest, but we just got to be really quiet because this is what she normally uses to escape when people approach. So just be very careful here. The nest site is very likely to be here somewhere. As if you look up here, this is where the croc has now come out of the water and walked slowly up the sandy bank of here. You can see how she's twisted to get up the bank. Check over here. Look at the print of her head. I think we've got the nest here, over there. And she's moved forward and back over here. There she's sat there for a while again. And then this is her body moving over here. It has big belly scales over here. And you can also see how she's come in from different sides of the tree.
It looks like I think she was lying here and then she escaped down that way.
I'm not going to hang around at the front of the water for much longer though. The jaw ends over here.
To avoid any incident with protective females, safety measures need to be swiftly put into action. Vince performs this essential duty twice a year, since these predators' reproduction plays a major role in the river's balance. Without them, the large catfish they primarily feed on would multiply and devour the entire marine microfauna. Towards the end of the year, the Okavango flooding comes to an end. The new season is near, so is the summer's hot weather. The river's flow rate decreases. The land reclaims the newly drained areas. The delta gradually dries out. The grass turns yellow. The vast majority of animal populations initiate a slow migration toward Botswana and Zambian soil in search of new pastures. A few take this opportunity to venture into new areas, spaces that are not submerged by water. For the last 5 years, director Brad Bestelink and his sound engineer Jason Lurin have lived in the center of Moremi National Park. They both work for a South African corporation that employs a score of camera crews. These teams release animal films from just about everywhere around the globe on a daily basis. The receding floods are an opportunity not to be missed by a number of animals. Big cats, crocodiles, and birds take advantage of the river's parched branches to feast on the many fish that find themselves trapped and left behind.
We try our best to keep up with the lions, but there definitely are times where we just actually can't go where the lions go. This crossing, for example, when we first came here, we couldn't drive through this crossing. When the water is at its highest, you can't actually drive through here. And if the lions come and they use the grass to access this point, we have to go and do a 4 or 5 kilometer detour just to get across the other side of the river to catch up with the lions. You can imagine if it gets a bit deeper than that, it becomes quite difficult.
Being stalled somewhere surrounded by wildlife due to a mechanical failure is the greatest danger around here. They rely solely on a radio link to their base camp, but reception can be spotty.
They don't, it's funny, they lie down when it's raining. They just bunker down. They won't move around a lot during the rain. But as soon as it's finished, they'll start to move. I just want to try and get to them quickly, and I'd like to get some of that of the lions actually lying in the rain. You can really see how miserable they are generally.
Brad witnessed the birth of 4 lion cubs 5 years ago. He has since made it his duty to film their growth at regular intervals.
The prey species moves around a lot more in the rainy season. So the territory actually expands quite a lot in the rainy season. And in the dry winter months, when the floodwater arrives, all the animals are drawn to that water. And then the lions become relatively localized in a very small area. So there's a huge difference in their territory structure between the dry winter months when the flood arrives and the summer months when the rivers are dry but everywhere else is green. Quite far down in the delta here, it's very difficult for the lions to get up against the main channel. But all of the little networks and subsidiary rivers, they have to cross them all the time after the prey species. These lions, we see them swimming probably twice, 3 times a month, actually cutting through deep water. If you live in the delta, you've got to just accept that water is a way of life. And all the animals, from giraffe, lion, everything, just has to learn to deal with the water. That's what makes it quite unique.
A shared sense of trust has developed between animals and filmmakers. From time to time, a few lions doze in the vehicle's shade while Brad does his takes. Wildlife is kept at bay thanks to an electrical fence that surrounds the base camp. Hyenas, in particular, are capable of raiding their whole supplies. The day's images are immediately downloaded and sent to the website EarthTouch via satellite. They will be available for viewing that same day. Today, Brad is entertaining Vint Shax, the crocodile expert biologist. They are in the midst of planning a new submarine mission in the basin. It is a genuine expedition in unknown territory. The water is frigid, 10 degrees. It is risky because it is unknown how the large predators might react.
It's amazing how the channel... We spend a lot of time on the river and watching these crocs. I mean, you research them for I don't know how long. As soon as they go into the water, they just disappear.
They're gone, yeah. We've often wondered about that. I mean, even at night, they'll go down, and we'd wait with them, and they wouldn't come up for a long time, and we often just thought it was them sitting at the bottom.
Yeah.
But now that we know that there's this huge maze of underwater sort of pathways underneath the papyrus, it makes a lot more sense now. You know, these guys could very easily go down, get underneath the papyrus and come up in a lagoon somewhere else. We wouldn't have even known that.
Absolutely, and also, it lends to sort of explain that the way these crocs move around the delta, they're using these things all the time.
Exactly.
It's not just you know, on occasion they hide underneath it. These guys are actually using these caves and these pathways to actually move around the delta.
Definitely. You know? Oh, brilliant.
Did not see this before. And they've got no problem with the darkness. It's incredibly dark in those caves, and even narrow. I mean, they just...
And look at that,
they
he's
just glide.
Beautifully. He knows exactly where he's going. He's done this before. I mean, look at that.
It's like a sanctuary for them. This whole sort of rabbit warren of areas that they can just go and be completely undisturbed.
Go and hide. There's a big croc.
An incredible experience to burrow underneath these big shells.
A man-made barrier currently encloses a 200 square kilometer area of the delta. It is supposed to protect the river's inhabitants against the large predators. The occupants of this part of the delta are the Hambushuku, an ethnic group from southern Angola, most of them escaping the devastation of civil wars.
We don't think about the danger involved. We have to come to work. Besides, we never see the crocodiles. If I see one getting close, I throw my sickle at him.
Continue making noise to scare them off.
Pythons remain the most feared of animals. They slip through the tall grasses and sometimes catch them unaware as they pick the lily pads used as a vegetable, or as they search for honey in the bog's beehives. Initially, delta dwellers traveled aboard papyrus rafts. They subsequently switched to pirogues called makoro, carved from tall African trees such as the kiat, the marula, and the Kigelia africana, commonly called sausage tree. Nowadays, the vast majority of pirogues are built using man-made fiberglass to prevent deforestation. The delta inhabitants are nomadic people. They build and tear down their housing according to flooding conditions. The long canes are used to erect a protective barrier essential for the prevention of unpleasant encounters.
Terribly bumpy today, jumping around.
Okavango River's basin is an extremely fragile ecosystem. Over 400 different species, critically dependent of one another, coexist. An environmental program aimed at raising young crocodiles in a farm setting has been running for 2 years. 100 or so are released annually into the waters.
Adam, it's fine. Husiami. We got him.
Also, if you can just grab the tape. You can actually hear the other crocs calling, responding to his calls. Right here, right here, right here, right here. There's a big one. Let's finish this one and then we'll see if we can get him afterwards. Pencils. So what we basically do over here with the crocodiles is we have an identification system using the scoots. So those scoots translate to these numbers as you see them here. This left row of scoots is this row here, and from these single scoots down is these here. As long as a crocodile grows, those scoots will remain cut. So if we capture this croc again in 10 or 15 years, we can count the scoots that are missing, go back to our code over here, find its ID number, go back to the data book, and then see what the measurements were and compare them to the new measurements. R6.
The collection and the scales tissue analysis serve two distinct purposes. Monitor the species' health and assess the pollution level of the river.
From here we can just release. Okay, the tape's off. Okay, Balto is all yours. Away. I think that Adam's laughing at this picture. Check out stuff to Yeah, it's far there. Okay, it's gone down. What we need to do is catch those other guys who are making so much noise, because they
Let's put this gear away.
will be very interesting. Okay, sharp, Adam. Okay, Balto.
Yep.
Okay, wait. Okay. Grab those jaws. Wait. I got the jaws. Hold it, base it down. Got it. Right. Got those jaws, eh? Let's untangle this guy. Okay, hold on. Oh, recapture. This is really exciting news in the world of science. What's happened here is we've caught this croc before, so it has its own identification number already. So every measurement we take here will be new, and we'll take it back to the database and see how this croc has moved and or changed condition or body length. So we're going to redo all of those measurements now just to see what the situation is. This is a farmed animal, bro. This is one of the crocodiles that we would have released. Last year. We released 88 animals as part of the farm release program from Okavango. It's moved a long way down. So this is going to be great data, not just for our research, but for the farm release program, which is something that we're focusing heavily on. So excited about this. Hold it. Tape is off. Croc is back in the Okavango again for the second time.
Another job well done.
So, well, a little bit of proof that the farm system is working, because that croc has survived over a year now on its own, feeding in the wild. So, a little bit of evidence that the farm system is actually working. Well done. Well done, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That animal is from the farm, eh?
Is it?
Yeah, from Shikawe.
Yo!
From Samachima. Kita latih macam. Oh, wow.
To gain a better understanding of certain phenomenon affecting the river, Vince pays a visit to Lloyd Wilmot and his assistant, Kanunga. Lloyd was born here. His ability to communicate with the various ethnic groups makes him one of the most valuable experts.
People are most fearful of hippopotamuses because they attack the canoes of those using the river. We sometimes also fear the crocodiles because they catch people on the pirogues and they attack the flocks. People cannot abandon the river. All life streams from it. The river feeds us, and we make use of its water. Without it, we die in the desert. The river is life.
The water quality remains pure. The vegetation acts as a huge filter. However, the use of various pesticides and fertilizers all along the river is beginning to produce a few negative effects, but not to the extent of what transpired following the notorious hunts that took place between the 50s and the 80s.
During that particular time, there was a big fuss around hunting, and everybody seemed to be involved with hunting. What was the big deal around hunting those days?
Hunting was almost like a way of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
This was a resource to be used,
yeah,
and the government saw no reason not to use it.
Yeah.
So, and there wasn't all this eco-awareness that we have today, and this anti-hunting lobby that we have today.
Of course.
And we had to pay taxes on every croc shot.
Yeah.
And it generated employment, it generated some revenue for the government.
Yeah.
And it extended right through until we got independence.
Of course.
And then subsequent to that, of course, these CITES came about.
Yeah.
Various other conservation laws came into being, and government wanted croc hunting phased out in favour of crocodile farming.
Yes.
But we found it would be more lucrative to go into photographic safaris, because we had the boats, we had the camps, we had the drivers, the trained crew.
The knowledge of the area.
We had knowledge of the area.
Of course,
It was much better suited to that. And who wants to go farming after being a hunter?
No, absolutely.
Lloyd has become somewhat of a legend. He is renowned for successfully traversing the river and its delta in its entirety aboard a pirogue. Each one of his stories is as incredible as the next. Like the one about bathing with his 5-year-old daughter surrounded by lions and elephants.
This is the main thing. Animals like lions read body language. If you show no fear, they can't quite figure you out. And just like your farmer, you get to know your animals, you get to know their behavioral patterns, you get familiar with them. And if you're familiar with the animals, you don't fear them. We just got to know how to, be near them, how to work around them, how to walk around them, how they would react if we do this, how they would react if we do that. And we became like another animal in the park.
At the core of the basin, the elephants maintain a vital role within the river's waters. They carry and disperse seeds that randomly sprout over hundreds of kilometers, promoting floral diversity. There are close to 160,000 elephants within Botswana. They are excellent swimmers and are able to easily cross the fords. For the last 25 years, a man has been living amongst 3 of them. Douglas Groove left behind the western United States zoos to dedicate his time to his lifelong passion, elephants in Botswana. This is one of the few places in the world where he can live freely in the wild surrounded by these pachyderms. Douglas has witnessed the growth of Jacob the male and the females, Thembi and Morula.
These 3 elephants can probably best be described as my family. We met when they were very small little guys. They'd been orphaned from a culling operation. 2 of the 3 from Kruger National Park and the other one from KwaZulu-Natal. And it's been over 2 decades now that we've been together. Almost every day, not quite. There have been a few times that I've had to take care of human business, but yeah, mostly every day since then. So they're like my family, like my children.
Douglas and his wife Sandy run a foundation called Living with Elephants, which welcomes schools, tourists, and even heads of state.
Jabu, steady, steady. Whoops, there they go. Okay. Now we think that they play a very important role in terms of being educational ambassadors. People, of course, through these guys, learn about the important ecological role of the elephant in distributing seeds and recycling nutrients and opening thickets. And that's very important for not only the local community, but for people all around the world to understand. Good boy. Very good. Good. Most of the noises, in fact, they make through exhaling through the trunk, but they can also make noises going the other way by inhaling through the trunk and squeezing the very tip of it together tightly. Sometimes we'll hear a high-pitched noise that they like to make. Jabu, squeak! Very good. Good job, Ulani. Excellent. Beautiful. Oh, good. This would just basically be a very dry and dusty desert if not for the Okavango River. Of course, there are threats facing the river and facing the wildlife, and many of these come from outside the region. Pipelines or dams, any kind of hydroelectric scheme, of course, could be very problematic for the Okavango because the sediments would then tend to build up and we wouldn't get the nutrients down here that we need.
Currently, seriously threatened by poaching and industrial breeding operations, the Okavango and its delta have turned to tourism in a safeguarding attempt. No more than 4,000 foreigners a year are given the authorization to discover this unique region, though at a steep price. This keeps the detrimental mass tourism at bay. For the most skilled riders, horseback remains one of the most adventurous methods and is far better suited to venturing out in a quest for wildlife.
Being on horseback, you become part of nature. You explore the delta more into it, get more into nature. You become like part of the world. You know, the animal, they see an animal as well. They don't hear any sound like an engine running. You know, I find it very unique because going through the water into places that you can't get through with a jeep. With the horse, you can get everywhere. You know, do a lot of island hopping. So it's quite fascinating being on horseback.
The 60 or so inns that greet the few fortunate tourists are all built on the Okavango shorelines. The vast majority of the tourists are from the United States, England, France, and Germany. They shell out over 1,500 euros to have the privilege of spending a single night in this untamed space. Most of Botswana's youth inhabiting villages beyond the delta's boundaries have never even crossed paths with a lion or an elephant. In order to give them the opportunity to discover the wilderness, some of these lodges organize annual internships. It's an amazing first experience benefiting the most underprivileged.
Why the hippos? Why the fish? Why the crocodile?
Educators Jeff and Lesso explain to the children how after the river leaves Angola, it traverses Namibia, passing by the city of Mohembo, before branching out into hundreds of much smaller channels that supply water to the delta. The Okavango Delta is the second largest in the world after that of the Niger River. The biodiversity is, however, far more opulent here. Jeff and Lesso pass on their scientific and biological knowledge to these young pupils. It's important for these children's future to gain awareness of the river and the delta's resources.
It's the first time that I've seen a hippopotamus. They always talk to us about the river, but I've never seen it before. All these animals, it is such a cool place.
The Okavango is currently threatened by the imminent construction of a dam in Angola and a water pipeline in Namibia. As a result, its flow rate would be considerably decreased, just as the delta's water supply would be. It is more crucial than ever to recognize the vital role the river plays in the preservation of the entire region.